Under the glorious aura of the First Crusade, the warriors of Christ celebrated their victory, but the flame of conflict between Christianity and Islam never truly extinguished. The Crusades were not merely campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land. They were profound conflicts between the two largest religions in the world, intertwined with human interests, power struggles, and ambitions. As the first wave of triumph subsided, the tensions and vested interests of the Crusade endured, sparking new schemes. After the spoils and achievements of the First Crusade began to fade, a new wave of ambition arose. Beneath the noble guise of defending the faith lay hidden desires to seize more wealth and power. Human greed, insatiable as ever, paved the way for opportunists, creating chances to incite further conflicts. These shadows turned the Holy Land into a blood-soaked arena, leading inevitably to the eruption of the Second Crusade. Will the Islamic armies rise from the devastation, reclaim their strength and position, or will they face further sorrowful defeats against the might of the Christian warriors? Join faith and hope as we journey back through history to immerse in the tragic beauty of this battle, uncovering the truths behind each bloody clash, relentless assault, and the miraculous, extraordinary events that unfolded during the most intense moments in history. The origins of the Second Crusade. More than 50 years have passed since the Crusaders celebrated their victory in the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Under the strict protection of Christian soldiers, Jerusalem became a sacred symbol, seemingly destined to be preserved in peace, free from the threats of the Islamic world. It was hoped that the Crusaders' glorious triumph would bring stability, peace, and prosperity to the region, but reality proved far more complex and rife with conflict. Beneath the peaceful facade lay deepening disputes and fierce competition for power among the Crusader forces from Europe, particularly the warriors from France. The Crusader states established after the First Crusade, such as Jerusalem and Antioch, were increasingly drawn into internal conflicts over interests, resources, and authority. Tensions escalated to the point where Christian allies turned against one another, weakening the unity they had once painstakingly built. At the peak of these internal conflicts, Muslim forces saw a rare opportunity to restore power and settle deep-rooted grievances. While the Crusader states continued to suppress Muslim dynasties and seek to expand their influence beyond their territories, including interference in North Africa and causing severe damage to the Great Fatimid dynasty, a powerful Islamic empire, they failed to recognize that the true strength of the Muslim world did not lie solely within the weakened Fatimid regime. Other Muslim powers remained strong, committed to defending their faith and culture. In northern Mesopotamia, the Seljuk kingdom of the Turks remained formidable, while the Zengid dynasty in Syria increasingly solidified its position, readying itself for a resurgence. The decline of the Fatimid dynasty did not extinguish the flame of Islamic resistance. Rather, it ignited a fierce wrath in the hearts of Muslim warriors. The desire for revenge and the drive to reclaim what was lost only fueled Muslim leaders to rally their forces, preparing for a new battle, not merely for revenge, but to protect their honor and assert their strength before the Christian world. Thus, the Second Crusade erupted, marking a new era of bloody, turbulent conflict between two great civilizations. The fall of Edessa, the final straw. Although disputes over power and interests among the Crusader states were frequent following the success of the First Crusade, Christian leaders understood well that the weakening of Muslim forces was only temporary. The essence of Muslim strength was not confined to the Holy Land of Jerusalem, but extended across Mesopotamia and the Middle East, including strategically significant territories. To truly solidify their control, the Crusaders knew they could only feel secure if they held dominion over the entire region. Any internal conflicts among the Crusader states would be a precious opportunity for Muslim forces waiting to seek revenge. Therefore, even though ambition and personal interests often led to clashes among the Crusader states, their leaders endeavored to restrain these conflicts to prevent internal weakening. However, on the opposing side, Muslim warriors, with fierce faith and deep-seated hatred, were relentlessly preparing for the day of retribution. They aimed not only to reclaim every inch of lost land, but also to restore their honor and erase the stain of past defeat. While the Crusader states maintained temporary stability, an intense undercurrent of vengeance surged within the Muslim warriors, building an unstoppable wave of resistance. The fall of Edessa marked a turning point, opening a turbulent new chapter. As one of the most critical Christian strongholds, the loss of Edessa was not only a military shock, but also a severe blow to the pride of the Crusader states. For Christian believers, Edessa was not just a fortress, but a symbol of faith and divine protection. When Edessa fell to Muslim forces, the entire Christian world plunged into astonishment and anger, sparking an urgent call for a new crusade. Notably, the Byzantine Empire, with its inseparable connection to the Crusades, had long served as both the origin and a key ally in these campaigns. From the initial plea for assistance to the early victories, the Byzantine influence was present on every battlefield. Had the Byzantine emperor directly led the Crusader forces in the first campaign, history might have taken an entirely different path. Instead of discord and division, the Byzantine Empire might have commanded this struggle as an epic quest, unifying both military and cultural forces into a single cohesive empire. Returning to the origins of the Crusades, the Second Crusade officially commenced as a response to the devastating fall of the County of Edessa, the first Crusader state established during the First Crusade. Positioned strategically in the far north, Edessa was relentlessly bombarded by the surrounding Muslim powers, ruled by formidable dynasties such as the Zengids, the Seljuks, and most notably under the skilled leadership of Imad ad-Din Zengi. As a frontier state, Edessa not only struggled to defend itself, but also became a symbol of the vulnerability of the Crusader states. This county was weak both in military strength and defensive capacity. The walls of Edessa were thin and old, insufficiently fortified to withstand the increasingly intense Muslim assaults. Instead of strengthening their defenses, the leaders of Edessa were mired in internal power struggles, plunging the county into prolonged instability. This misfortune upon misfortune highlighted Edessa's weaknesses as it faced external threats, while also suffering internal turmoil, unable to grow or strengthen its position. The rise of Imad ad-Din Zengi brought a new wave of ambition to the region as he pursued a long-term plan to expand his territories and power. Zengi was not only an exceptional leader, but also a visionary strategist. His first move was to establish an alliance with the Byzantine Empire to consolidate his influence. However, this alliance quickly fell apart due to unresolved internal disputes, leaving Edessa isolated, deprived of an important ally, and forced to stand alone against the growing threat of Muslim forces. Recognizing Edessa's weakened state, Zengi seized the opportunity to strike a decisive blow. His assault was not merely to eliminate a Crusader state, but also to assert the strength of the Muslim world, bringing hope for a resurgence and eradicating the Crusader influence. When Edessa fell to Zengi's forces, fear and alarm spread throughout the Christian world. This defeat was not only a harsh blow to their pride, but also put the Crusader states on high alert, urgently needing reinforcements and support from their homelands. Like the final straw, the fall of Edessa signaled the need for a renewed uprising. It ignited a wave of calls for the Second Crusade, with the aim of restoring honor and protecting the hard-won gains that so many Christian warriors had fought to establish. Isolated in the Promised Land, Jocelyn, the Lord of Edessa, could no longer hope for rescue from his allies. In his perilous situation, he made a bold and surprising decision to ally with a former enemy, Kara Arslan, the ruler of the kingdom of Diyarbakir under the Artukid dynasty. Both understood that the growing power of Imad ad-Din Zengi, a formidable and ruthless Muslim leader, threatened to consume them both. They decided to unite, turning a long-standing enmity into a close alliance to face a common foe. Kara Arslan, knowing that Zengi was concentrating his forces to attack Aleppo, agreed with Jocelyn in a daring alliance intended to apply pressure and potentially halt Zengi's advance. Jocelyn quickly mobilized Edessa's entire military force, along with soldiers from Diyarbakir, and advanced toward Aleppo with the determination to deliver a heavy blow to Zengi's army. However, Zengi was not only an experienced military leader, but also a cunning and astute strategist. Upon learning of the coalition's plans, Zengi immediately devised a bold and surprising counter-strategy. Instead of deploying his entire force to face them head-on, Zengi cleverly split his army into two wings. One wing remained in Aleppo to ensure the city's defenses against the coalition's attack, while the other was secretly dispatched to launch a surprise assault on Edessa from behind. Zengi's elite troops moved swiftly and, in a short time, had surrounded Edessa, which was left vulnerable with most of its defenses far from the city. When the grim news reached Jocelyn, he found himself in a difficult dilemma. Returning would mean facing Zengi's overwhelming forces with insufficient strength to break the siege, but continuing the march toward Aleppo could result in Edessa's downfall. In desperation, Jocelyn sent pleas for help to the other Crusader states, hoping for assistance from his remaining allies. Yet he was met only with silence, as the other states chose not to intervene in such a dangerous situation. Edessa, left unprotected, stood alone against Zengi's destructive might. In Edessa, panic swept through the populace as Zengi's forces surrounded the city from all sides. The small defensive garrison was no match for the overwhelming strength of the enemy, and one by one, sections of the fortress fell into Muslim hands. The cries for help from the people of Edessa went unanswered. Finally, in a tragic and brutal siege, Edessa fell, becoming a stark testament to the Crusaders' weakened presence in the Holy Land. In the dark days before Edessa's fall, the city's defense was organized under the direction of the Archbishop and two German bishops, Robert de Molay and Jacques de Mol. They strived to maintain unity among the Christians, ensuring no one defected or sided with the Muslim forces, especially during this period of intense tension. Makeshift defensive lines were hastily established, but with limited military strength and little combat experience, the city was vulnerable to the threat from the other side. As Zengi, the ambitious Muslim leader, approached Edessa, he quickly surrounded the city, recognizing that the defenders within were too weak to repel a major assault. Wasting no time, Zengi ordered his troops to build tall siege towers and directed them to dig tunnels to undermine the city walls. While Zengi's forces continued to receive reinforcements, the people of Edessa, lacking military skills and experience, could only hold on with desperate resilience. Most of Edessa's elite soldiers had left the city with other crusading expeditions, and those who remained were insufficient to counter the sophisticated tactics of the Muslim forces. Watchtowers were poorly positioned, and with a shortage of supplies and weapons, the defenses weakened steadily. Soon, under the relentless assault, a portion of Edessa's wall collapsed, leaving the city open to invasion. Zengi's army flooded in like a fierce tide. With sharp swords and no mercy, they swept through the city, attacking anyone who couldn't escape. The massacre lasted for hours, blanketing Edessa in terror and chaos. The desperate cries of the people mingled with the clash of swords and the shouts of soldiers. Trapped with no way out, civilians were trampled and suffocated in an inevitable horror. Even the archbishop, the spiritual leader of the city, fell while trying in vain to protect the citizens. Once Edessa was completely captured, Zengi, in a display of calculated ruthlessness, ordered the massacre to cease, but all prisoners were still executed. However, he spared the local Christian inhabitants, allowing them to leave the city. After 2 days of fierce assault, the Muslim forces fully occupied Edessa, leaving it in ruin and grief. Zengi, the brilliant leader of the Muslim forces, was appointed governor of Edessa, assuming absolute power as the remaining Christian leaders had no choice but to relinquish control. The Christian spirit of the city was entirely crushed, replaced by chaos and despair that engulfed what remained of Edessa. The Muslim forces emerged victorious. After taking control of Edessa, Zengi did not merely hold power over a city, he ignited new hope among Muslims, creating an opportunity for them to rise after long years of oppression by the Crusaders. Known by the title An-Nasir, the Protector, Zengi was celebrated as a hero, a defender of the Islamic faith, and his image became a symbol of resilience and courage in the resistance. However, just as he achieved his resounding victory, an unexpected event forced him to return home to consolidate his territories and power, leaving Edessa under Muslim control. With his newfound fame, Zengi chose not to extend his attacks into the remaining Christian cities after capturing Edessa. Instead, he appeared to pause his conquests to strengthen his rule and expand his influence in neighboring areas. Meanwhile, His remaining territories in Edessa gradually fell under pressure, or were even sold off to other forces amidst continuous internal disputes. Zengi's life came to an unexpected end in 1146 when he was assassinated by a slave during a military campaign, leaving a significant legacy in the hearts of Muslims. After his death, his son became the king of Aleppo, continuing to rule and sustain the influence his father had established. Meanwhile, Jocelyn, a Christian leader, did not abandon hope of reclaiming Edessa and was determined to launch a bold counterattack to regain the city from the Muslims. However, the prolonged years of warfare had weakened his forces, and other Christian states refused to offer assistance, making Jocelyn's efforts unsuccessful. Edessa remained in Muslim hands, becoming a major symbol of the decline and failures of the Crusader states in the Holy Land. News of Edessa's fall spread beyond the Middle East, reaching across Europe and reigniting the spirit and fervor of Christians afar. Particularly in France, when King Louis VII received the grim news, he immediately sent envoys to meet Pope Eugene III to seek support and initiate a counteroffensive. In response to this plea, on December 11, 1145, Pope Eugenius issued a decree calling for the Second Crusade, marking a pivotal moment in history with the involvement of thousands of Christian soldiers in a renewed resistance. In this video, we've explored the deep-rooted causes and significant events leading to the Second Crusade, as Christian and Muslim forces faced off in unprecedented fiery battles. Don't miss the upcoming developments as both sides continue their relentless struggle to gain control over the Holy Land. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, and like to stay updated on more exciting videos on our channel. For now, goodbye, and see you in the next thrilling journey.